why Israel sends its planes and its pilots on such dangerous missions far from home instead of just responding to the Houthis or to the Iranian missiles with our own long-range missiles, which we have very, very advanced missiles. So on the surface, it seems simple. Launch a ground-to-ground missile quickly and hit the target precisely with no risk to our own warriors. It even seems cheaper than risking a fighter jet and a pilot training. But once you dig deeper, the story changes entirely. One of the main claims from advocates of a missile core attack in Iran and Yemen is the cost angle. And on this point, they have a point, because a missile certainly is cheaper than a fighter jet. But then again, the fighter jet that struck in Yemen also conducted strikes in Gaza, also in Lebanon and Syria and Iran. A missile is a one-time use item. Once it's launched and hits, it's gone from inventory. When comparing missile costs to aircraft munitions, the longer a missile's range, the more expensive it is. A LORA missile with a 400-kilometer range costs about $3 million per unit. Missiles with ranges of 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers can cost tens of millions each. A medium or long-range missile costs 10 to 20 times more than an aerial munition. Some missiles cost nearly as much as a fighter jet, which can perform missions for 40 years or more. The maintenance cost of missiles and launchers and the readiness infrastructure are also no less than maintaining a fighter jet. So if you're talking about a serious missile force, it may cost even more than the aircraft. A missile launched to Yemen or to Iran carries a warhead weighing half a ton to a ton, and it is effective only against a limited range of targets. Furthermore,
I've never seen such an amazing cleaning product. It's just like
operations are relatively easy to detect, especially with long-range missiles, as we saw before during Iran's attacks of Israel. The launch itself is detectable, and the trajectory is fixed and interceptable. Just look at the Iranian launches at Israel, which included dozens or even hundreds of ballistic missiles with only marginal damage relative to cost and effort, to see how limited a missile's power can be. On the other hand, a fighter jet can carry 10 to 11 tons of bombs and missiles and hit multiple targets or change targets mid-flight if needed. The damage that a plane can inflict is therefore significantly higher than a missile, and beyond that, air-launched munitions have better penetration capabilities than missiles, which is critical for Israel when targeting underground infrastructure and tunnels from Gaza to Iran to Yemen. Finally, air power can be approached from multiple directions and fly below the radar, making interception very hard. Equally important, from a political and diplomatic angle, jets allow plausible deniability, unlike ground-to-ground missiles. Yes, munitions launched from jets can also be intercepted, as we saw in Syria, but because of their size, price, and quantity, many can be launched from several jets, overwhelming air defenses and hitting the target. This is far more cost-effective and efficient than using expensive missiles. A missile core is therefore nothing more than a niche used for very specific targets. It can be a force multiplier, but it cannot replace or substitute an active air force. No advanced country in the world has a missile core instead of an air force, or even as a major part of one. In fact, terror groups and some of Israel's hostile threats, the states that are attacking Israel, rely on missiles and on rocket forces because they do not have the ability to maintain an advanced air force. Just look at decades of rocket and missile attacks on Israel to understand the differences. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on every development regarding Israel's Air Force and the revolution in military affairs. As always, we ask you to help us